Have you ever felt broken inside, as if you were trying to piece together a life that no longer makes sense? Sometimes everything falls apart. Relationships, plans, even your own identity. And in that emptiness, we search for a way out. Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest swordsman of Japan's feudal era, also knew chaos. After being defeated and losing everything, he wandered aimlessly, facing his own shadow. But it was in that abyss that he discovered 5 simple rules, principles so powerful they rebuilt his soul and transformed him into a legend. This video is not about swords, it's about you, about how to apply these rules to rise from the ground, regain your strength, and transform pain into direction. If you feel like you've reached the bottom, perhaps this is the beginning of your own reconstruction. Rule 1. Accept life as it is. Musashi said, "Accept everything exactly as it is." This is the first rule, and perhaps the hardest one. When life collapses, our instinct is to resist. We fight against the pain, against the loss, against what we don't understand. We want things to return to how they were. We want people to treat us the way they used to. We want reality to obey our expectations. But this resistance is exactly what keeps us trapped. Musashi learned this through experience. After years of battles, he realized that suffering didn't come only from war, but from the attempt to control the uncontrollable. It was when he let go of the past, of his wounded pride, of the idea of how life should be, that he found freedom. Acceptance is not resignation. It is recognizing reality without illusion. Your life may be in ruins right now. There may be pain, failure, loneliness, but as long as you deny it, you cannot move. Acceptance is the starting point of transformation. It's when you say, "This is happening, and I will face it." Think of nature. Water does not argue with stone. It flows around it. The wind does not revolt against the mountain. It passes over or changes direction. To accept is to become flexible like nature, never breaking even in the storm. When you start to see reality without masks, something changes. You stop wasting energy running away from or fighting the present moment and begin to act with clarity. That's when the true process of rebuilding begins. Life doesn't need to be perfect to be lived with dignity. Musashi teaches us that when we accept what is, we take the first step toward changing what can be. It's not about giving up. It's about starting from the only place possible, now. Rule 2. Do not seek pleasure to escape pain. Musashi wrote, "Do not seek pleasure for its own sake." This simple phrase hides a brutal truth, especially for those trying to rebuild a broken life. When we're hurt, lost, or empty, it's natural to search for relief. We want to stop feeling pain, even for a moment, and so we chase pleasures, overeating, distractions, addictions, sex, shopping, social media, anything to pull us away from reality. But that kind of pleasure is only an anesthetic. It doesn't heal, it just numbs. And when the effect fades, the pain returns, often stronger than before. We fall into a cycle of escape, running from the void with pleasure, but ending up emptier still. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Musashi understood that the true path is not to hide from pain, but to pass through it with awareness. Instead of chasing pleasure as an escape, he chose self-control as his weapon. He knew uncontrolled desire weakens the spirit, making us slaves to fleeting sensations. It's not about living without pleasure, but about not depending on it, not using it as a substitute for facing what truly must be faced, because it is in pain, discomfort, and silence that the greatest growth happens. Musashi's life was marked by discipline. While many pursued comfort, he pursued truth. And truth often hurts, but it also frees. Momentary pleasure hides pain. Discipline transforms it. So if your life is in pieces, ask yourself, are you trying to heal or just distract yourself? Are you rebuilding or just numbing? The true warrior faces the darkness with eyes wide open. And Musashi reminds us that there is no inner victory without effort, no lasting peace without facing the storm. Rule 3. Control your emotions. Do not act on impulse. Musashi said, "Do not act guided only by feelings or emotions." This is one of the hardest rules to follow, and one of the most transformative. When life is broken, emotions often dominate us. Anger, fear, sadness, anxiety. They grab the wheel and push us toward impulsive actions, words spoken in the heat of the moment, reckless decisions, desperate escapes, even self-sabotage. But Musashi invites us to something different. Pause, breathe, observe. He doesn't say to repress emotions, but to avoid being controlled by them. A warrior feels everything, but does not react to everything. He responds with awareness, because those who act on impulse become predictable, fragile, easy to manipulate. But the one who masters his inner world masters the outer one. In swordsmanship, acting on impulse meant certain death. In life, it's no different. How many times have you regretted reacting in anger, letting despair carry you away? How often have your emotions blinded you, leading you to say or do things that only caused more pain? Musashi trained not just his body, but also his mind. He understood that true strength lies in balance, that a warrior's heart must be calm like a still lake, even in the midst of chaos. Controlling emotions doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means not being a slave to them. It means looking inward and recognizing, yes, I am afraid. Yes, I am hurt. But I will not let this decide for me.
If your life is in ruins, emotional mastery is more necessary than ever, because decisions made in a storm usually build more destruction. Musashi shows us that true reconstruction only begins when the mind becomes clear as a sharpened blade, and that the first step to overcoming external chaos is conquering the inner one. Rule 4. Do not obsess over yourself. In his famous Dokudo, Musashi wrote, "Do not in any way think of yourself." At first glance, this sounds radical, as if he were asking us to erase ourselves. But in truth, it is a profound lesson about the ego and how it can sabotage a life already in pieces. When we're broken, we often turn inward in a distorted way, trapped in self-pity, guilt, resentment, or a constant hunger for validation. We measure everything by our suffering, our losses, what we think we deserved. Without realizing it, we become prisoners of our own ego. Musashi understood that the ego is noisy, fragile, and needy. It constantly craves praise, victories, attention. But the path to reconstruction doesn't come from inflating the ego, but from silencing it. When you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What needs to be done now?" you stop being a victim and begin to become a warrior. Obsessing over yourself also blinds you. You stop seeing the people around you, the signs of the world, the opportunities hidden in adversity. You stay trapped in a mirror, repeating old wounds, comparing yourself, judging yourself, diminishing or inflating yourself, but always revolving around me. Musashi proposed the opposite, detachment from the self as the center of the universe. He knew that the more we think only of ourselves, the weaker we become. The effective warrior acts with purpose, but not out of vanity. He trains, fights, builds, not to be admired, but because it is necessary. If your life is in ruins, maybe it's time to stop asking, "What did I lose?" and start asking, "What must be done now?" When you release the weight of the ego, your shoulders become lighter, and only then can you rise again, stronger, clearer, freer. Rule 5. Never let jealousy poison you. Musashi wrote, "Do not foster envy or jealousy." This simple but powerful guidance is one of the least discussed and most transformative keys to healing a broken life. Jealousy is a silent poison. It corrodes the soul from within, making you focus more on what others have than on what you can build. And when we're in pain, loss, or confusion, we're even more vulnerable to it. You look around and see people who seem happy, successful, at peace, and you wonder, why do they have it and I don't? But that question never leads to healing. It only deepens the wound, because jealousy is a form of abandonment. It's when you stop tending to your own journey to get lost in someone else's. Musashi knew a warrior cannot fight while looking sideways. He must look forward, firm, focused on his own path. More than that, he must understand that what others have, wealth, love, recognition, has nothing to do with what he himself is capable of achieving. Jealousy distorts reality, creates imaginary enemies, feeds resentments that drain your vital energy. When you let jealousy in, you stray from reconstruction. You start competing where you should simply walk. You start comparing where you should be focusing. And worst of all, you sabotage yourself, believing someone else's success diminishes your worth. But Musashi didn't see the world as a competition. He saw it as a dojo, a training ground. Each person with their own sword, their own battle, their own rhythm. The true warrior honors the progress of others because he knows it doesn't lessen his own journey. If your life is in ruins, the worst thing you can do is wish for someone else's life. Focus on building your own. Don't compare. Rise. Because the time you spend envying could be the time you use to become unstoppable. Throughout this journey, we've seen how Musashi's 5 rules are much more than simple teachings. They are powerful tools to rebuild a life that feels shattered. Accept life as it is, without illusions. Face pain without shortcuts that only mask the problem. Control your emotions to act with clarity. Avoid being trapped by the ego that isolates you. And never let jealousy poison your heart, pulling you away from your true path. Musashi shows us that life is a battlefield, but also a place of learning and growth. It's not about being perfect or avoiding difficulties. It's about remaining firm, conscious, and present, even in the midst of inner storms. Each rule is an essential piece in putting together the puzzle of your recovery, an invitation to look inward with courage and outward with serenity. If you apply these principles daily, you'll begin to realize that reconstruction isn't about returning to what once was, but about creating something new, stronger, and truer. The real victory is not in avoiding the fall, but in rising after it, with the wisdom of one who has learned to fight life with both mind and heart aligned. Now it's up to you to choose. Remain stuck in the past, or begin repairing your life one step at a time with the strength of the warrior within you. Musashi left us the path. All that remains is for you to take the first step. If this video touched you in any way, leave a like, share it with someone who needs these lessons, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next content. Remember, transformation begins within you, with small decisions that over time change your entire reality. Musashi taught us that even in the midst of chaos, we can find the path of peace and strength. Now it's your turn to apply these rules and rebuild your life. Count on me in this journey. See you in the next video.